So for me, there's three specific things, each of which interacts with one another and actually impact one another. So the first of these is new business models. The second of these is technology and technology change. And the third of these is consumer expectations. So we shop very, very differently to how we did 10 years ago. I think everybody knows that. And what's interesting is table stakes are changing. So for example, you cannot now realistically be a retailer without having an e-commerce offering. And whereas from an expectation perspective, a few years ago we might have been happy with next day delivery. Now what's starting to happen is we're starting to expect same day delivery. And these changes are being magnified by the likes of Generation Z and or Generation Z, depending on where you are in the world. And what's interesting is they have very, very specific habits and very specific expectations in terms of their consumer or their customer experience. And moreover, what is also happening is those habits are actually migrating to older generations. So, for example, whilst you might think that they don't have an awful lot of spending power right now, that is increasing. But as these habits migrate and to the older generations, this is putting a huge impact on retailers. And just to give you an example of how these habits are migrating, if you look at Instagram, for example, Instagram isn't something that started with the older generations. It started with the Generation Z or the Generation Z, those people born after 1995, and it's migrated up to the older demographics. So this is changing the way in which retailers have to adapt. The technology for me is particularly interesting because it has an impact both from a consumer perspective, but also from a corporate perspective or from a retailer perspective. So from a consumer perspective, we all expect to be able to shop using our mobile phones, and actually over the coming years, what we're starting to happen is actually IoT devices are going to become customers themselves. There's going to come a time in the next few years where actually you've got IoT, Internet of Things linked devices actually requesting customer service, actually ordering product themselves, so they're going to become customers. But then obviously the mobile phone, the social shopping, the mobile shopping, that's having an impact from a customer's perspective. From a business perspective, the whole use of IoT to operationalize, to improve the efficiency of operations and actually understand what's going on, combine that with things like cloud and the ability to augment your existing ERP or merchandising systems with advanced capability, AI, what have you, in the cloud actually has a significant impact on those businesses as well. So new business models, it's a bit of an interesting term. I mean, you hear the term disruption, digital disruption. Disruption comes as a result of new business models. And these disruptions come because what they do is they find a weakness in the customer journey and actually improve the customer journey. That's what happens when a disruption comes along. Now, if we go back 10 years, we use the term new business model, and it's kind of a little bit, what does it mean? 10 years ago, omnichannel retail was a new business model. And what happened is retailers had to adapt to that, and obviously now it's no longer a new business model, but things like selling via IoT, that is a new business model. So things are changing over time. But these new business models, things like subscription retail, they're providing additional types of competition to retailers, and retailers have to decide, are they going to join? Are they going to adopt, a new business model, for example, subscription retail? Do the systems that they have and the technologies that they have support that, or have they got to build it themselves? And that is how, from a consumer perspective and also from a technology perspective, that is how those interact with one another. So I think the key thing here is what we've got is three separate, very disparate forces that interact with one another, each one driving the other two, and vice versa.